the button early.
Oh,
I was trying to wake.
There's 4 minutes to go over here.
Oh, mine said 50 seconds, so we're live now.
Gotcha.
Sam was in the middle of talking to me, and I was trying to wake the screen up on the phone, and I accidentally hit the live button. So now we're live. And let's mute my laptop. Awesome. We're glad that you are all here. Yeah, I think it might just be me tonight. Sam is knee deep, eyeballs deep in studying for a really hard exam tomorrow that he's very nervous about. So he would appreciate your thoughts and prayers. He's been working really hard for this one, and he's pretty nervous about it. It's a lot of material. So I'm sure he will do great, and tomorrow night he will be feeling much better about things. Wash my camera off. But tonight he's pretty nervous. So I think he's going to work on studying other than join us for the live. But I think we can just have a short chat about what's going on and see what you all are up to. We went from last week with it being warm, basically, you know, out in my t-shirt, feeding all the animals, and then got slapped in the face by the cold this week. It has been so cold. Our fire is up and running. See if I can show you. Get out of the way. Nice wood stove's going. It's been going for a few days now because it is brutally cold out. Well, I won't say brutally cold, but it's cold. It's below freezing. The water's been frozen in all the duck ponds and stuff in the morning. And tomorrow it is going to snow. So we went from summer right into winter here in Missouri. But the girls are so excited. I mean, just like so excited that it's going to snow tomorrow. And so hopefully it's enough snow that they can actually see it when they wake up in the morning and it doesn't peter out on us, because the weatherman likes to be wrong, but they are super excited. Let's see what we got going on. See, Karen's here. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. And Janice is here too. Beth actually made it on time this week from Kansas. Prayers for Sam's exam. Thank you very much. And Grammy says it's 31 degrees in North Carolina. That's pretty cold there, Grammy. How are your plants doing? Because you were just telling me about your fall garden. Welcome, Charlie and Judy. And Mrs. Peach says, blessings from California. I'm making rag dolls for my great-granddaughters. Now, they will enjoy that. That's actually something that's on my list of things that I think the girls would enjoy learning how to do. The older girls are really into sewing and creating right now. Donna says, I've got fireplace going. We had snowflakes here a few days ago. We did. We had a flurry here, too. You're going to see it in an upcoming video. I don't know, 2 or 3 days ago. We're not expecting it at all. It was very cold out, and we were outside doing some chores, and the girls were excited. It started to flurry a bit. It wasn't anything that was going to stick to the ground. Tomorrow, hopefully, it will. So Wendy is here from Nova Scotia. Cold here, too, now. I'm sure it is. I bet it's been snowing there already, huh? Silvermoon's here, welcome. Grammy says, covered our plants last night, hopefully. You know, a good cover will go a long way when it's a light frost. When it starts just getting cold, like if it ever gets down, you know, near the 10s, it's not going to make any difference. But in those 20s and 30s, just covering your plants, I mean, you can get extra weeks out of your growing season, guys, even if you're not covering them with anything more than like an old milk jug or a Rubbermaid container. Just keeping that ground frost off of them will make a difference. And plants are kind of like people, I guess. They produce a tiny amount of their own heat, and they'll just keep themselves kind of just a little bit above that freezing temp, and they'll stay alive if you cover them with what you got. So Tammy's here. Colds for Central California, low 50s during the day, 30s at night. Yeah, that is pretty cold for Central California. Welcome, Tara. Thanks for joining us. And Donna says, hugs from Ohio. I will send that on to Sam. Welcome, Lois. And Aunt Holly says, we had 5 inches Friday night. It was supposed to be only dusting and expecting more tonight. Wow. So you'll have to remind me how many hours south of us you are, but it's several. I know that we thought it was going to snow Friday, and the girls were really excited. But then they pushed the storm down south, and all we got were just like flurries that didn't do anything. So it didn't actually snow or rain. It was just cold. So they are just so excited, though. I mean, it's fun when you're a kid, right? Snow. It's like all that opportunity and fun, and they talk about all the things they're going to do when they get outside to play in it, but we all know that we're going to get them all bundled up, and they'll last all of 10 minutes, right, before they start coming in for hot cocoa. But it'll be fun. So to get ready, though, for the winter, I'm curious here. I know Silvermoon's here, and she's got ducks, and several of you, other of you alls, have ducks too. I'm a little not sure what to do for my ducks this winter. In previous winters, we did not have splash ponds for them in winter. We just had water just like in a big chicken feeder, and they could just dip their beaks in it, because ducks need to dip their beaks to like clear their noses out and stuff. Right now we have like little splash pools for them, but if they're freezing every night, is it even worth keeping? Like, do you guys keep water, splash water out for your ducks, or do you just go to like the extra large chicken feeder and they can dip their beaks in? I'm curious what you do. I'm not in a point right now where I can get them heated waterers or splashes or anything like that. It's just not, don't have the extra funds for that right now. We keep, you know, the chicken water, it's a pretty big one. It doesn't freeze unless it gets really cold, and then we just put some hot water in there in the morning. It melts it right down for them. So I'm curious what you all do. Holly says, I'm in Wayne County, so about 3 hours. Okay, so down farther south. Yeah, we were really hoping for that snow, but we didn't get it. It got pushed down south. In a minute says, I'm practicing my snow angeling skills. Yes, that's one of their favorite things to do. They also like to make snowballs and throw them at each other, except everyone gets mad when they're the one being thrown at. Everybody just likes to throw them. So we usually end up breaking up some outside fights. Silverman says, get a rubber feed pan. You usually knock the ice out of them. Okay, that is actually what we're using now, are some of those big rubber feed dishes. So we'll just keep breaking the ice. Homestead Nana says, hello from Massachusetts. We got going to get some snow on Wednesday. Yes, so we're getting snow tomorrow, and then all of you on the East Coast get to enjoy it on Wednesday. Pete says, just got in from moving the meat birds. 27 degrees, supposed to get 3 to 5 on Wednesday in Vermont. Awesome. Yeah, those farm tours, I mean, they're never easy. And whatever you're doing, it's never easy, right? It's always work, always labor. But man, when it gets cold, sometimes it's just miserable. Things like moving the chicken coop. When you do all your other chores, then you realize, well, now we got to move the coop. You know, it's only like, got to move it 15 feet. But it's like that one more thing when your hands are numb and your toes hurt, and now you got to move that coop. I hate that. That's my least favorite thing. Pete says we switched the meat birds to black rubber bowls and fill them with warm water. Okay, so I guess I'm on the right track then. I do want to keep them with, they really like the splashy water. Ducks and geese do, and so I'd like to have it out for them, but we'll just keep dumping the ice out and putting warm water in every morning, and then when it freezes, but at least they have it in the morning, right? So we have a pond on the far side of our property, and Pete, you might have experience with this, or someone else, Silver Moon maybe. My thought is we should move our ducks, not now, in the spring, move our ducks and geese over there. So it's in our very large field that's fenced in for our goats and our sheep. There's a pond in the corner of it right down by the road. And put the ducks and geese over there where we have a natural pond, just tons of water for them to splash around in. Maybe they'd even help a little bit with the algae issue down there. And, you know, put like a floating duck house for them. I mean, I think they would be very happy. But Sam's concern is that it's too far from the house. So we can see it from the house. That field's a couple, maybe 3 acres. You know, the distance is, you know, not even a quarter mile if you're walking from the house. But he's concerned that it'd be too far from a house, that predators would just grab them. Yeah, it doesn't matter what kind of fencing you had on. You know, a determined predator does not care really about electric poultry netting. They'll take the zap to get the bird kind of thing. And so he thinks that's not a good idea. I'd be curious what you all think. I mean, do ducks and geese and chickens, do they have to be right up against the house? You know, with the clearing and having it fenced in with the electric wire for the sheep and goats, and then it would be fenced again in that little section with poultry fencing, electrified poultry fencing. Is that enough of a discouragement? Plus, it's right along the road. Not that we live on a busy road at all, but it is right on the road where cars are coming occasionally, which, you know, it's not up against the woods or anything where predators live. So be curious what you think about that. I think it would make the ducks and geese happy, but I don't want to put them out there as a sacrifice to whatever wants to come get them. So welcome, True Joy. Thank you for joining us. Pete says, we ended up moving our ducks closer this year because we had a fox stalking them. Okay, but a pond would be pretty incredible for the ducks. Yes, and it would be incredible for me because they make such a mess with their water. And I get so tired of filling up their water bowl and 2 hours later, you know, they've splashed it all out, or it's just a giant mud pit. They make such a mess no matter how much water we give them. It's just their nature, you know, that's what they do. And if they had a pond, they can make as much of a mess and dig as many holes as they want and be happy to their little heart's content, and it would not cost an extra minute of work for me. So Beth says, first timer here, I'm in Illinois, and they're calling for 1 to 3 inches of snow. I drive a school bus, so I'm not too excited. Ooh, yes, just part of it though. I always wonder, Beth, there's some country roads out here, and I know there are in Illinois, how those people drive a school bus, especially in the winter. It has to, you must be white knuckling it the whole way down these country roads and the sharp corners, and it's not wide enough for 2 cars and you can't see and it's slippery. I don't know how people do that. It's hard enough just trying to drive like a minivan in the winter. I can't imagine driving a school bus. So Silver Moon says, I'd be worried about the predators too. The electric wire should help, but not sure how big an area, so it might be hard to fence in. The area would be the same. We would just take the fence we have now. It'd be the same size. I'm horrible with measurements, and Sam is busy, but I would guess what we have fenced in now is about 1/2 acre. It's a large area. It's enough that they haven't pounded it all to dust, even with all the ducks and geese in there. So they're somewhat free-ranged-ish happy. We would just move that same fencing over there. It'd be the same amount of area. So Beth says about the school bus, I've taken 1 inch at a time. Helps so much that my students are well behaved. And that is awesome. And that's also a testament to you that they respect you as a bus driver, probably because you respect them back as the students and the little people that they are good riders for you. So be safe tomorrow, Beth. I hope either you don't get a lot of snow or they cancel school so you don't have to drive the bus. That's what I would say. Speaking about bus riding, today I went to the school and I signed all of the paperwork. Annie, she gets to start her services through the school system next week on Monday. And if you're catching up, 6 of them, Annie has some special needs, some medical diagnoses, and we felt it would be best for her to still be homeschooled, but to get some therapy services through the school. And the awesome thing about Missouri is that homeschoolers have the same rights as private schoolers, and so as a taxpayer, she is entitled to any therapy services she would receive if she was a public or a private schooler. And the school buses her too. So we got her she has a little schedule. She's going to go to school 4 hours a week, and the bus is going to come pick her up. It's going to take her to school, and then it'll bring her back home when she's done. And she's so excited, and I'm excited for her. It's going to be such a blessing to be able to get therapy services at the school, because right now we drive an hour each way for her therapy and outpatient, which also, insurances have limits. And so, she needs things, but we can't always, it's worked out pretty well because her surgery has really expanded those limits. But when she gets therapy through the school, she can get extra therapy. It doesn't cost a dime. I don't have to drive her there, and I don't have to worry about using up her approved therapy sessions through her insurance. So we can save those for her outpatient. So she can basically get double therapy, which is just going to be awesome. So, but she's so excited to ride the school bus. That is just she's thrilled. I don't know that she's going to sleep the next 5 days because she's that excited about being able to ride on the school bus. So we'll see what happens when the day actually comes. I'm sure she'll be nervous, but she's very excited. Let's see, I missed a whole bunch. Pete says, another way to help with predators would be to keep a wide swath mowed so the predators don't have a lot of cover. More mowing though, yeah. Well, actually, where the pond is, and I did talk to Sam about this, right now they're close to the house, but they're also right up against woods on the other side, so predators have lots of cover to come in and grab them. Over in the field, the pond is in kind of a clearing, and it's surrounded inside the sheep and goat area where they keep it really knocked down. There's no woods. The other side of our field is our neighbor's field, which he mows for hay for his horses multiple times a year. There's no woods, nowhere really for predators to have cover. And then you have the street on the other side, which is obviously nowhere for cover. So I kind of wonder if that would really discourage predators, because any way they come at it, they're going to have to cross a large amount of open land, which if I was a predator, that would feel kind of chancy to me. Beth says, trouble with buffering. Yeah, let me know if you're having trouble. It looks good on my end, but that doesn't always mean anything. We can always try to refresh the feed if a lot of you are having trouble. Welcome, Carol. Thanks for joining us. Silver Moon says a livestock guardian dog would help too. Yes, so we have a dog. She's not a livestock guardian dog. We did have a livestock guardian dog for a long time. His name was Archie. And then when Archie got really old, and he eventually passed away, but when he was really old, we decided we were going to get 2 more Great Pyrenees and have him kind of train them up or just stay alongside with him. And they were great, but the problem is Archie never wandered that much because he was old. He kind of just hung around. These guys, we could not keep them on our property. We only have 10 acres. And it was, our neighbors came and talked to us and complained about the dogs getting in with their cows, which I understand. Our dogs do not need to be messing with other people's cattle. It didn't matter what we did. There was no fence or electric fencing that were going to keep those big dogs in. So we ended up having to find them to rehome them because, you know, we're not here to be a nuisance of a neighbor's. So as much as I would like a livestock guardian dog, I don't feel like there's any way to keep one on your property, any practical way, because they dig, they jump, and they're meant to be wanderers. I mean, they're meant to be with people who have 200 acres and they can just wander as much as they want. So I don't have one. We have a dog who spends most of the day outside, and she's not a livestock. She's a mutt, and she does a great job staying on our property and doesn't wander off at all. But I don't think she'd go and hang out with the ducks all night. You know, she likes to come in at night. She's kind of spoiled. She comes in and sleeps in her cushy little bed at night. So Pete says 45 watching but only 19 likes. Hit the like button. I appreciate it. Thanks, Pete. If you have a minute to hit the thumbs up, it does help us in the algorithm, which we always appreciate. It lets us get our videos in front of more people who might enjoy our channel. Prep for Eternity says, good evening. Thank you for joining us. And Tara says, Hartley is excited about the bus next year. Yes. So Hartley and Annie are buddies, but they don't live in the same school district. But something about being a kindergartner and getting to ride the bus, it's just like every little kid's favorite thing. So I have a feeling when the day comes and it's her day to, you know, go to school for her 4-hour, her therapies and her reading supports, she's going to be nervous, but I think she is going to, I think she's going to enjoy it. I think it's going to be good for her. Let's see. Silver Moon says, how have you liked your guard geese? Now, let me tell you, those guard geese are loud. Sam he leaves on Friday mornings. He has clinicals right now on Fridays. And to get to the hospital in time for clinic, he has to leave between like 4 and 4:30 because it starts really early. And it's a long drive to where the school he's attending is in the hospital that they use. Those geese, the second he steps outside the door, I mean, they go crazy. You would think that something was just trying to attack one of them, but it's just because they see a shadowy figure. So all in all, guard geese are a great alarm system because it wakes me up every time he tries to leave because they just start honking like crazy. Or anything. The cats like to kind of go over near the chicken fence and just hang out. And those geese, I mean, they're after them. Nothing that does not belong in there goes in there. Fortunately, so far, like, they're used to me and they're used to the girls that help me with the farm tours. They don't give us any problems at all, but it's kind of interesting. Anything else that they're not used to. I mean, they are loud and they're big and they're intimidating. Like, they're loud and they come at whatever they don't want in there. I mean, with their bodies, and they're really big. So I recommend guard geese for your chickens if you're thinking about it. And so Tracy's here. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. So has anybody else got anything fun going on homesteading wise or farming or gardening wise for the winter? I know some of you have started things in pots, and I'm curious how those are going. We are not growing anything this winter. I've talked about that before. We decided it was more important to focus on getting Annie through this last little bit of her intense therapy cycle. And all the things that it's taken to get her, like the services through the school while homeschooling, things like that. It's just been a lot of my time, and I just did not have time to put the greenhouse back together for the fall. It will be ready for spring, but curious what else you all have going on. And if it is never too late too, if you still want to grow something in pots, you can absolutely start something indoors. Spinach and lettuce do great in pots and great. In the winter, they don't need a lot of sunlight. So if you have some place with a window that maybe gets, 5-6 hours of sunlight, you can grow spinach and lettuce all winter. Just pick from the outer rim and it'll keep growing from the middle. And if you're really consistent, you can keep it going for a long time before it'll bolt. And bolt means it grows really tall and it goes to seed, and then the plant is going to die and you need to start over. But let's see. Tracy says, yes, mine are all coming up, even my carrots. Carrots is another good one. You can grow inside any time of year in winter, a little indoor garden. And carrots are fun because you can just pick them as you need them, even when they're ready. Like, we had carrots that we planted outside in raised beds, and they did great this year. And I started picking them in like July because that's when they were ready. But I didn't finish picking them until almost like September, I feel like. And they were still fine in the ground. They're not going to do anything. They're just kind of there. And that's kind of, so you don't feel that rush Like some plants, when they're ready, you got to pick it all and figure out how you're going to put it up. But not with carrots. You can kind of just pick what you need and leave them in the ground until you're ready for more, which is kind of neat. So Wretched is here. Welcome, thanks for joining us. We're glad to have you here tonight. Let's see. Pete says, still working to wrap up fall jobs, so hopefully the snow melts fairly quickly. Next is getting ready for sugaring season. Yeah, if you want to tap some trees, that's going to, for us, that's usually January, February. I don't know. That's probably true for you too, Pete. I don't know if that changes, like gardening season's changing. I think what I've read is you have to wait for like a hard freeze and then like the warm day after that, and that's when you tap. I've thought about, we have a lot of black walnut trees, and I've read a lot about people tapping black walnut trees and making a black walnut syrup that you use like maple syrup, and I always thought that was really cool. I've never done it. Syrup, and Pete probably could talk more to that. Syrup making is an intensive enterprise, takes a lot of trees and a lot of time, and I would hate to do that and discover that black walnut syrup is gross. That's all I have to say. I don't mind the black walnut nuts. We cracked a few. The girls were actually outside smashing them the other day, having fun cracking them. But nobody really likes them. I'm not gonna make something with them, so I don't know if the syrup would have that same really strong taste. So, let's see. Beth asks, how's week 2 of No Waste November going? It's going really well. I'm actually surprised how easy it has been to just do 1 trash can a week. Like I was like, I'm making this goal, but this may not happen, because we were emptying the kitchen trash can, every other day, plus a Walmart bag, of trash from rooms or whatever a couple times a week. So we're producing, by the time I was out at the end of the driveway, it was like 2 trash cans. We don't have a giant trash can, like those silver cans is what we have. 2 of those a week for the trash man. So going down to 1 13-gallon bag, like that's a big difference. But for us, I discovered that 90% of it was people just not putting things in the right place. Like we have a hot compost pile. 0% of our food waste, whether it's bones even or grease, 0% of it should be going in the trash can. Like our trash should never be stinky. It all goes in the compost bucket. But people, the kids and stuff, they get lazy. It's easier to dump it in the trash can than it is to go open the compost bucket. So it just had to be just kind of on it and retrain people. All the food scraps, if it's not something we're feeding to the chickens, it goes in the compost bucket. Any paper or cardboard, it can, either go in the compost or the burn barrel. Do not throw it in the trash can. And once kind of had it, we spent a week before No Waste November, retraining everybody, being really consistent. And now they know, and they don't really have to think twice about it. And we're just not accumulating trash. It's actually really amazing. And I'm kind of now thinking, not only are we going to keep up with this, but I've been looking, how do I get down to maybe just half a 13-gallon bag? Because I feel like if we can get to that, that's like 2 Walmart bags a week. And I don't need trash service for 2 Walmart bags a week. I mean, I can just siphon them off at a gas station, or the trash can at Walmart. If I got one every 3 or 4 days, just toss it in some public little waste receptacle, because it's not that much waste. And then why am I spending this money on trash, right? Trash pickup if I don't need it. The biggest one that we have trouble with, there's 2 that I've noticed, it's probably about 50% of our trash waste right now. It's milk and juice cartons, or jugs, because I don't always have the option where we are to buy it in cardboard. Sometimes I have to buy plastic jugs, and our goats are dried off for kidding season, so we're not producing our own milk, which doesn't produce any waste. That one takes up a lot of real estate even when I crush them. And I know you can save them for things like planting tomatoes in them, repurposing them to hold water, but at some point you have enough, right? And it's just trash. And then the other one is still the disposable diapers. I like using them at night. And we did cloth diapers overnight for a week and a half. And it just 50% of the time Patton would leak out of them, because boys are really heavy wetters. And then you would triple stuff them, and the poor little man's butt is so big, he can't even fit in his jammies, and it's cold. So disposable diapers at night. But if you think about it, that's 7 a week plus a few for a babysitter, so they collect. We did do a brand of diapers called Diaper, spelled with a Y, which is 100% biodegradable disposable diapers, and we put them in our hot human manure compost pile. This was like a year and a half ago. And so I was looking at all this diaper trash, and I was like, I wonder if that experiment actually works. So I went out there and kind of like cored out a part in the compost pile, and they are not there. They're gone. Like, I probably threw 100 of those diapers away over the course of a year, and then, lasagna layered my pile and stuff. It's really broken down a lot, and there's very little evidence there was ever diapers in it. So I'm thinking to get rid of that waste, I may go back to those diapers, even though they are more expensive, but that way I get the benefit of a disposable, but it doesn't go in the trash can. It just goes in the compost pile out in the, the hot compost bin. So I think I might go back to that and just see if we can maybe get off trash service, which will save me whatever they're deciding they're going to charge us this year. All they've told us is that the price is going to increase considerably due to whatever, gas and all that stuff, and I don't really want to pay that. So, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I'm talking so much. Let me read some of these. I was worried I wouldn't have enough to say with Sam not here, but apparently Sam just makes me quieter because I have just been rattling. Anne says, I have some spinach, lettuce, and broccoli in my greenhouse, but temperatures dropped low enough several nights in a row and froze them. Yes, it stinks too, because some years we've gone to like to January before it really got cold enough at night to damage anything in the greenhouse. And then this year, I think if I did have a greenhouse like tonight, I think it would kill everything off. It's going to be cold enough. And that's so disappointing because you put all that work in. This is why heated greenhouses are really awesome, but we're just not in that spot in life to have that right now. Tammy says, we've got a couple of geese. When I was little, they are super protective. That's true. Pete's going to do his sugar tapping March and April, so it is different depending where you live. It's kind of like a gardening season. And Tammy says a bunch of herbs, potatoes grow in grow bags. Yes, potatoes are another one. You can grow in a bin, a big bin, a grow bag. I grew ours in tires this year, which probably wouldn't work with the really cold weather right now. You couldn't really do that inside. But Tracy says, have you made cowboy candy? If so, I'd love to see a video of you canning those. I actually don't even know what cowboy candy is, so if you want to comment and let me know, I'd be interested in knowing. It'd be something we could maybe try. Pete says, I hear black walnut syrup is good. Wonder if you could just do a few and make a small batch to see if you like it. Maybe I will. I think tree tapping the girls would think was really interesting. It'd be a neat little science nature lesson for in the homeschool. And the taps are only like $15 on Amazon. I mean, maybe you get what you pay for, but they don't seem like they're that expensive. So we might have to give it a try this year. Country Girl says, can you not buy milk in bags? No, not in the United States. I know in Canada they sell milk in bags. The United States milk either comes in plastic jugs or in cartons. And the carton milk is almost always the very expensive, like organic, no GMO feed, like twice as expensive as the jug milk. And so I buy it when I can afford it because I prefer to not have the plastic waste, but I have a lot of people to feed, and sometimes I just can't buy that much milk that's that expensive. So it's a goal for the future. And when we're milking, I don't need to buy nearly as much store-bought milk because we have milk for things. And then it gets a lot cheaper, and I can just buy the cartons because I'm not having to provide all of our milk from the store. We do one day want to have like an alternating milking animal system, like not everybody dried off at the same time, but we don't have enough animals right now to do that. In the future, things are rolling. We're getting there. Prep for Eternity says, yes, the milk and the juice is huge. Doing this little experiment really shows how much plastic there is. Makes me dislike plastic even more than I already did. Yes, and I feel like plastic is one of those things that just kind of creeped up on us as a society. Because a little bit of plastic, you're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. What's one trash bag a week? But now, the average family, I said in the No Waste video, produces 5 pounds of trash a day per person. I mean, that's ridiculous. And that's a United States statistic. And a lot of that, there's a couple reasons for that. A lot of it has to do with plastic. A lot of it has to do with the fact that we are not like a society that's really well educated on like composting. There's a lot of I don't know if I'm going to call it negative views, but people feel like they can't compost because they don't live out in the middle of nowhere like we do. But like anybody can compost. Compost should not be stinky. There's lots of ways to compost so that animals can't get in. I really encourage you, if you are not composting, to look at the plethora of options out there and give it a shot, because I think a lot of that 5 pounds of waste is just food waste because, banana peels and chicken bones. And even if you're being very good about using all parts of whatever you're eating, which a lot of people aren't, but I know a lot of you all are, which is why you're here. You know, you're saving those veggie scraps and stuff for broth. But at the end of the day, like, you're going to produce some amount of food waste. And if you throw it away in the trash can and send it to the dump, it's going to take eons to decompose because it's going to be wrapped in plastic bags, which inhibits decomposition. You throw it in a compost bin, and in 6 months, it's all broken down, which is just amazing. So, let's see. Yeah. Tracy says cowboy candy is candied jalapeno peppers. I'm going to try it maybe. Okay. Oh, man. I love things that are spicy and sweet. I'm going to have to look that up. If I can't do it now, I will do it in the summer when we grow more jalapenos. And if anyone here is thinking about growing jalapenos next year, let me just remind you that 2 plants is more jalapenos than you will ever need in your life. One year I'd never grown jalapenos anymore. And you know how many peppers, you get off a bell pepper plant. So I bought like 8 jalapeno plants thinking it would be similar. Oh my gosh. I mean, just pounds and pounds and pounds of jalapenos. And Sam will eat them and I'll eat them, but the girls don't like spicy. I swore we were still eating those jalapenos 2 years later that I canned. Like, we didn't grow jalapenos the next year. So you don't need to go crazy on the plants. Just 2 or 3 will do a family for all year. You get a lot of peppers off of one plant. Pete says, just set up 2 new burn barrels recently. It really helps. Yes, and being able to burn trash. I know if you live in a city or in the suburbs, you are not able to do that. But paper is one of those things that is pretty truly recyclable, especially if you can take it to a place where they only accept paper or cardboard, like you already have to have it pre-sorted. There's a good chance it's actually going to get recycled. So if you can't burn, that's a great option for keeping those out of your trash can. Let's see. Pref Returney says, totally agree. I wish we had another option like paper bags over plastic. Yes, so I just made a video. You can see a tiny little blue corner. It's one of those bags that the girls and I made, but just starting to bring my own bags to the grocery store. I do notice if I go to a cashier, I get a bit of an eye roll. Some of this where we live, people aren't really environmentally conscious in Missouri that much. I feel like in general, they don't like filling those. It's easier for them to fill the plastic bags that are on the spinny thing at Walmart or whatever. But I do self-checkout a lot just because it's easier for me with all the kids to be able to use a scanning station and just do it myself. And I just bring my own bags and I fill my own bags and no plastic comes home. It's great. So Camille says, I don't know where to take milk jugs to recycle. And I don't know if milk jugs are typically recyclable, and that's something maybe someone else can comment on because we do not have plastics recycling. But I remember when we had plastics recycling growing up, I feel like we always had to throw the milk jugs away. They couldn't go in the bin because it's a different kind of plastic. So Beth says, I always heard you can't compost meat product. How does that work? Thank you for asking. That's a great question. If you are just throwing stuff out your back door and not doing anything to it, you're not really supposed to compost meat or bones or human manure or anything like that, and then use it in your garden because it's not going to get hot enough to kill the bacteria that could possibly be in there that you would then attach itself to your plants and make you sick when you pick them. However, if you have what's called a hot compost pile, you can throw about anything in there that is biodegradable. And a hot compost pile, it's not really that tricky. You just have to make sure you are adding enough carbon and then keeping it wet and it gets hot. I am not the foremost expert on this. Some of it is also time. Like after a while, if things set compost for 5 years, it's just going to naturally decompose and there'll be no bacteria left. A lot of the compost rules with just the veggie scraps is because people are trying to get you from scraps to scraps in the fall to garden compost in the spring, which is nice. You do not have to compost that fast. Our pile, we load them up for 2 years, and then we cap them off. We keep them really wet and get them up to temperature, which I would have to look at what that temperature is. You can also check out Doug and Stacy's video on their human manure compost potty. They have that information too. It has to be kept at that temperature. I think it's like 3 days, and then it's like 30 days after that. It has to be at a different temperature, and then you just let it sit there for a year, and then it's good to use. So it's not misinformation that you can't, it's not misinformation when people say you can't compost those things. You can't compost those things and then use them in your garden in 6 months later, even if they look like they're broken down, because they might have viruses or bacteria in there from the meat products or whatever you're throwing in there. But you just have to think more long-term composting. You have to think about getting your pile hot enough, things like that. If you Google humanure compost book, it's free. It's like a 10-page PDF, and the guy who wrote it, he writes down, everything you need to do it scientifically, proven safely. It's much simpler than it looks. So if you're interested in being able to compost more things, I highly recommend you look that up and just see what you can do where you are to make that happen. Tracy says, I'm going to grow them in the house. They're going to be planting less 3 seeds maybe. Yeah, don't go crazy. Not with those jalapenos. Earth Garden, we made that mistake with Carolina Reaper pepper. Oh, those are hot. We grew 6 plants our first year. Yeah, and then you got to figure out what to do with all those peppers. Anne says, I'm just smiling at the thought of 8 jalapeno plants. I think you would enjoy cowboy candy, a great addition to sandwiches or as a side. All right, I'm putting it on my list, folks. This summer, we'll have a cowboy candy. We'll try it for you. I'll have a video for you. Okay, Beth says milk jugs are considered a hard plastic and are recyclable. That's good to know. So if you can find a place that recycles plastic, you should hopefully be able to recycle your milk jugs, though we now know that some ridiculous amount, like 80 or 90% of plastics that go to recycling aren't actually recycled. So if you can avoid buying the plastic, that's the best option. If you can't, trying to recycle it's the next one. Pete says, we live in an old 1850s farm, and there are many dumps where they toss the trash they had. Amazing how many things were in glass and metal then. Found an intact glass bleach bottle last spring. That's really cool. We live on an older farm too, but I have never seen trash. Is that true? Yeah. I've picked up lots of foundation stones where things used to be, and we haven't found any arrowheads, haven't really found any cool trash. We did find some neat stuff in the basement that previous owners had left, and we were able to get connected with their descendants, which by this point is like great-grandchildren. We actually returned those things to them. There was like a book, and there was something that had a signature on it, and we actually were able to connect with them, and they came and visited the house and shared with us some really old family pictures of what the house used to look like back in 1930, 1940, and we returned those to them, which was a really neat experience. But we haven't uncovered anything. We have uncovered the old root cellar. The goats ate around an area, and we discovered that that's where it is, but it's caved in. But I kind of want to dig it out, which I just think, who knows? If it caved in while they still had stuff in there, who knows what's, still in there from whenever. That would be so cool. But it would definitely need some sort of like backhoe bulldozer sort of thing to dig it out. And we don't have that kind of equipment. And right now is not the time to take on a project of that size. But maybe next year when Sam's done with school, that'll just be a fun little archaeological adventure for us to see what's down there. And maybe even the root cellar, once we dig it out, maybe the walls are still good and it was the roof that collapsed and it's something that we can fix back up. Because I personally would love to have a root cellar. Because right now everything's stuffed in my tiny little pantry and I'm totally out of room. So Pete says there's compost unit called a green cone, and that's for meat and bones. Does it below ground? Okay, so there's another thing for you to Google. JMB says, I'm sure these folks are so grateful to get their ancestors' things. Yes, they thought it was pretty cool. And the book, one of the books we found was a school primer that a little girl had signed when she was probably like 6 or 7, in her really big, clunky handwriting. And when we gave it back to the family, we found out that she had just recently died. Like, she was almost 100, and she had just recently died. And they were really touched to be able to have that connection to her back after she had recently passed away. So it felt like a good thing just to be able to reconnect that to the family. It was really cool. So really, really neat. It's just an adventure, right? Whatever you find. I'm sure there's stuff out there. I actually probably should think about logically where they would have dumped trash. I probably could send the kids out with a shovel and see what we can find, right? Is there a rule, like where do you put the trash heap? Is it a certain distance from the house, a certain direction facing? I'm sure there was some scientific thought to it, right? You wouldn't want it near your well. We probably could kind of try to sort out where it used to be. Make sure we avoid any area, maybe where the outhouse was. Though from what great-grandma tells us, people just used to dump their trash in the outhouse, so maybe you do want to find out where the outhouse was. So it'd be interesting to find something. We haven't found anything like remarkably cool. Sam's always hoping when he pulls down, door frames and pieces of walls, some penny from 1900 will pop out and it'll be our $1 million golden ticket to sell to some collector to finish fixing up the house. But that is yet to happen. We've just found a lot of wood lathe and horsehair. And I don't think any of that's worth anything. Though it is really cool to see how they used to build things and how different it is. So let's see. I think I've touched my topics for today. Sam has, let's see, we have Thanksgiving next week, so he has a short week, which is good. And then after that, he has like 2.5 more weeks of school, and then he gets a big Christmas break, which we're really excited for. He's been working this has been a really hard semester, and we kind of knew going in it would be. It's been really neat because he's really interested in like labor and delivery and postpartum nursing. He has a lot of experience there, right, here with all our kids. So it's been fun for him that he's been able to be more hands-on and be in the delivery rooms and be helping. But it's also just, it's a massive amount of information. Pregnancy is huge, and they're also encompassing pediatrics into it. So it's been a huge amount of information that he has to read and memorize for each week. So we have not seen much of him. He's been either in our little office corner studying, or he's been at school, or he's been at work. So we're excited for Thanksgiving because you'll have a couple days off. They'll probably still have lots of homework, but we are really excited for the middle of December because he's going to get like 3 weeks off, and we have plans. We're going to take the big girls, the 2 oldest girls, we're going to take them to St. Louis to see the Nutcracker Ballet, which they're going to be so excited for. They love stuff like that. And we're going to take the kids on some of those like drive-through lights. We're just going to try to make Christmas lots of fun memories for the kids, because we know this year has been between all of Annie's therapies, and then Daddy's been really busy with work and school. It's probably been kind of a stinky year from a little kid perspective, because we haven't really been able to do anything other than drive to appointments. So J and B says, do you want to share any gratitude activities that you use with the girls to prepare for Thanksgiving? Oh, that's great. And then Tracy says, I've always wanted to see the Nutcracker Ballet. It is. When I was growing up, I had a friend who was a ballerina. And every year, probably from first grade, we would go watch her perform in the Nutcracker. And as she got better, moved up in roles until she was like a senior in high school and had like a big role. So it's just like part of Christmas for me as you go see the Nutcracker, because that's what I always did growing up. So I'm very excited to take him. I'm going to be honest, we're not doing any real gratitude activities for Thanksgiving. I've stayed away this year from any sort of like themey homeschool units because there's so much going on because of Annie's surgery and just trying to finish that therapy. We are doing homeschooling. We are doing the essentials, like they're reading, their writing, and their math, their science and geography. I just don't have the time right now to do big plan unit studies for like Thanksgiving or Christmas, which we've done in years past. Which I think are wonderful. This year's just not the year for it. And next year we'll go back to it. The girls always enjoy, like we did a Thanksgiving one last year where they, we read a little piece of the Thanksgiving, like the early Pilgrim story every day for 30 days. There's a book on Amazon, I can't remember what it was called, that I downloaded. And then we would try, like they learned how to play Pilgrim games, and that was hilarious because I am not very coordinated. And these games that they, used to make for kids to entertain themselves, some of them were really hard. Like there's one where you tied a string to a stick, and you had a little like ring on the other side of the stick, a little hoop, and you had to try to like swing your stick so the hoop went on. And it was, oh my gosh, they played that for like 30 minutes. They got so frustrated because they couldn't figure it out. And it was just fun. It was fun to learn, and they enjoyed that kind of stuff. This year is not the year to do that. I needed preset curriculum where they can open their books and go. That doesn't need me to do a lot of prep time because I just don't have it right now. Just trying to stay on top of everything for Annie and still making sure everybody gets their school done and is learning and progressing in their studies. Next year, even this spring, Sam and I were just talking about it. Once we hit January and she is 1 year post-op, it all changes massively. She only has to go to therapy 1 time a week. And so we're going to have 1 town day a week. We're going to have a lot more time at home to get back in the systems at home. I was just talking to Sam, like right now the kids don't really even know how to be at home. And we were home for like 2 days last week, and they were nuts because it's been so fast paced. We've gotten everything done and everyone's doing really well in school. Annie's getting all her stuff done. But every day it's like, get up, you got to eat your breakfast. Come on, we got to do our school. Come on, we got to get Annie to therapy. Come on, we got to get home and eat dinner. Come on, we got to get ready for bed. And it's like that every day, just like woof, to the end. And now that things are slowing down going into January, they do not know how to occupy themselves at home because they're so used to having somebody tell them exactly what we're doing right now. And now they have a lot more free space. So we're having to relearn how to be bored and how to occupy yourself when you're bored, which has been a struggle for all of us, a struggle for my frustration level, but I know that we'll get there. And that's one of the reasons why we homeschooled. So they had that bored time to discover their passions and to learn to do things. And I'm excited to have it back, excited to have more days at home. But I know it's a little bit of an uphill battle right now because they do not know or remember how to be at home a lot and how to have boring days that there isn't always something going on. Let's see. Let's see here. Will you prep for returning so they are so young and have plenty of time to do all the special unit studies? Why is it focus on the essentials? Yes, you cannot do everything at all at once. That's one of the lessons that we learned our first couple years on the homestead. We're trying to fix up the house, trying to start a homestead, trying to start homeschooling the girls. You cannot master all things at one time. You really have to pick things to focus on and start with the really important things. And once those are done and you have more time and the ball is rolling, you can add new things. So focusing on the essentials right now, making sure everybody is still thriving, even if we aren't doing a lot of special stuff, and we'll worry about the special stuff next year. J&B says, yes, you're so busy. We'll be staying home for tea day. We are not traveling. We will be celebrating it with Sam's side of the family, but they are not very far away. They're like 25 miles away, half an hour, 35-minute drive. So we'll go there for half a day, and the girls get to play with cousins, and we can visit, but definitely not traveling this year for Thanksgiving. And we actually don't usually travel. If we're going to travel to visit my family, which is a lot farther away, we'll do that either in the summer or around Christmas. Thanksgiving isn't a big travel day for us. For my perspective, it is not worth the amount of stress it takes to move that many kids for such a short holiday, because usually for Thanksgiving you get like 2 days off if you have a traditional job. So it's too much for that far and that many people. It's not worth it. Tracy says, when I homeschooled my kids, I used a lot of documentary videos. My kids had ADD, so I had to be creative. And every kid learns differently. And right now, Micah is doing a unit on the American presidents, which is really neat, by the homeschool historian is her name. Oh, I had to think about that. She has a Facebook page. She has some really neat history things for homeschoolers. She's a homeschooler herself. But she's doing a unit on American presidents, and I love it because about half of the unit is documentary based. So we had to get a subscription. It's like $4 a month to the History Channel, like online, and she can pull down the video she's supposed to watch, and she just loves it. She loves learning about history. Micah loves history. She already knows so much about the presidents, but now she's watching like documentaries on each one that gets into like the nitty-gritty details of their presidency, and she's just like enraptured in this video. So I love it, depending on how your child learns and what they're interested in. I love that, and I love this curriculum for her because she can just go do it. Like it's really self-paced. So just be like, all right, you need to do the next lesson. And so if there's a video, she knows how to pull it down, and then the questions that she answers, and then we talk about it when she's done. And then I can help other people like Ivy or Annie or JJ with whatever they need to get done for school today, while Micah is able to do her history herself. Let's see, J&B said, Annie's family has certainly done everything possible for him. Glad to hear he'll be slowing down. And thank you. We try. It's a hard balance to decide when you're pushing too hard, because she's still a little person, right? Everybody's got their limits. You don't want her to feel like you are pushing her to be more, or you don't want her to feel like you're pushing her because she isn't good enough the way she is, because that's not what we want her to feel. But we do want her to be her best capable person that she can be. You know, because one day she's going to be older and want to be independent, and having certain functional skills like being able to button your own shirt, which is incredibly challenging with one hand, you know, those kind of things. Like we want her to get the help she needs to do those things. Like with going to the school, she has a lot of memory issues, and so learning how to read has been exceptionally difficult. And I've just decided at this point that what I'm doing is not being successful. So she's going to go to the school for 4 hours a week, and they are going to help her with a reading specialist, someone who specializes in issues like this, and then tell me how to help her at home so we can continue homeschooling. So we want her to be her best version of herself. We don't want to push her so hard that she feels like we're not accepting of who we are. That's one of the reasons I'm really set on backing down in spring, because she's worked so hard this year, and then she just has time to be her. Kate says, we've had snow for days, supposed to snow off and on all week. Love it. I love snow. It is beautiful. Don't really like driving in it though. Terry says, when we no longer had cable, we missed the History, Discovery, and the now gone Biography channel. Yes, I always enjoyed history. It's probably part of where Micah gets it from. It's just so interesting. And it is so interesting to learn about people who did big things. Like, why did they do big things? Like, how come this kind of person was so motivated to do those things? And why are all of us not that motivated? And how do you know, it's just so interesting. Beth says, it's an organization all about American Revolution, and they have all kinds of activities that can earn scholarships while learning history. You have to remind me, what organization are we talking about? Did I missed maybe something up here? American Revolution, and they have all kinds of activities, scholarship while learning about history. Remind me the name. I probably mentioned it and didn't realize I mentioned it. Which organization that you are talking about. So, all right, I am going to lose my voice here. I can hear it coming. I've been talking for 52 minutes. I really appreciate you all hanging out tonight with just me. Sam is sorry that he is too busy studying. Okay, my previous comment. I'll have to scroll back up. We got a whole bunch at once, so I'll have to scroll up to find it. I will check it out. Thank you very much, Beth. Appreciate you all hanging out with just me. Next week, we should be back live, and I'm hopeful that Sam will be able to join us next week, since we'll be heading into Thanksgiving, and he should have a little bit less work to do. So I hope everyone stays safe. If it's snowing where you are, please don't drive in the snow unless you have to, because we want to see you all back here next week. Thanks so much for chatting, guys, and I will see you next time.